Hi, welcome back. I'm Amanda. This is Copper. She's hiding under the blankets. I just gave her a bath. She's staying warm under the blankets. I wanted to do a little wrap up for the month of January for all the books that I read. I read 14 books for the month of January. Let's get into them with a yes, no, maybe, and maybe some thoughts that I had on them. The first book that I read in January and the first book of 2025 was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I rated this one 3 stars. I'm gonna say no from me for this book, but I know how much people love this book, so overall I'm gonna say maybe, but I personally did not like this book. This was actually my work book club book I got from like my Secret Santa, so I finished it, but if it wasn't my work book club book, I would have DNF'd it. So I just found the female main character to be completely insufferable. She was horrible. I'm sorry, I said it. I hated her. She had the worst friends, the worst parents, and she still put up with them. In the end, she cut them out, but I couldn't do it. It was horrible. And she treated Daniel in this like complete shit as well. So no from me. Then I read That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. This was the first book from my Sisterhood of the Traveling book club. I rated it 3.5 stars. This book, it was like a thriller. It was a wild ride. I'm gonna say it's not my type of book, so I'll say maybe. If you like true crime, you would love this book. I personally don't love it, but it was a fun ride. The end had me freaking out. I've posted a clip of me reacting to the end. It was crazy. It was a fun ride. It was a good story. Well, kind of a depressing story. The end was super depressing. So that's kind of where the maybe comes from on my end. And it was something that I wouldn't have normally picked up, so that's why I love this Sisterhood of the Traveling book club thing, because everyone picked different books. I'm getting to read some that I wouldn't normally have picked up, which I love, so. And then I listened/read Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I started off by listening to the audiobook of this, which was not the move. I was not paying attention to it. I need to stop listening to the audiobooks for fantasy books because I just don't pay attention to them, especially if I'm doing other things. Otherwise, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fun. I rated this one 4 stars. Like I said, it was a fun ride. It was a great story. I can't wait to see where the series goes. It was definitely very smut focused, I think, in my personal opinion. But I'm not mad about it. So, like, one of the powers for the main male character was like making everyone around him like feel lust. So, and the end was super action-packed. I wish there was maybe a little bit more action throughout the book instead of just at the end. But the end was really good and I can't wait for more. I love JLA, so I'm so excited. This one is a yes. And then I read Visions of Darkness by A.L. Jackson. I got the ARC for this book, but I didn't end up reading it on time, so I just read it when it came out in January. I rated it like 3.5 stars, and I'm gonna say maybe for this one. It was a fun read. It was really interesting and different. It would be really, really good for spooky season, I think. I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if that was like the vibes of the season. The story was really cool. It was basically when the characters would go to sleep, they would go into this other world and they would go and like fight demons in this other world, and then the worlds kind of collided with the real world, which was really interesting, and it had like a fated mates aspect, so that was cool. I just thought it was a little much, like they were in danger and like on the run for like the entire book, so it was a little bit exhausting there, but it was still really fun. And again, for spooky season, I'd say maybe. And I read Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson. I actually buddy read this with my bestie Destiny, so that was super fun. I love buddy reading with her, and I just love her in general. So I rated this book 3.5 stars. It was really fun. I loved the idea of getting like a monster romance book with the Loch Ness Monster. It was so fun, and the audiobook was really good because you got the Scottish accents, so I definitely recommend that. The end didn't hit for me. I just thought it was totally predictable and not in a good way. I'm gonna say maybe for this one. I don't know, the first half of the book, really good. The end, could have lived without it, but it was still fun. Then I read The Cerulean Truth by Sorcha. This was actually an ARC read. I believe it comes out this month in February. I rated it like 3.25 stars, and I'm gonna say maybe on if I would recommend it. A fantasy book with like magic, kind of like, I don't know. The book kind of has a lot of comparisons to Harry Potter, but like in a satirical way, I guess, because of how different their magic is from Harry Potter's magic. So it's not really like Harry Potter. So I did like the magic system. It was kind of confusing, but I get that with the first book. There's a lot of world building, and I think I just didn't really love the main characters. They just kind of drove me crazy a little bit with how much they were just fighting, which I get it. It's supposed to be like enemies to lovers, but they were like lusting after each other the entire time. So I wouldn't really consider that enemies. They just always bickered about the same things over and over again, which I didn't love. But otherwise, it was a fun story. So I'm gonna say maybe on the recommendation. And then I read The Sunken City by Emma V.R. Noyes. This was a fun book. It wasn't my all-time favorite book. I thought it was a really fun world though, with like them living underwater. And I kind of compared it to like Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with The Little Mermaid, except they aren't mermaids, which probably would have been more fun if they were mermaids. But I rated it like 3 stars. I don't know. It was just kind of meh. So I probably won't continue the series. So I'm gonna say no on the recommendation, but. And I listened to Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This was actually my first Sarah Adams book. I know there's 2 other in like the world that this book was set in. One of them, When in Rome, is actually on my February TBR, so I can't wait to get back into that world. I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I would say yes for a recommendation. It was a super fun read. I loved the FMC Emily. She was just really kind of struggling with like some loneliness that I really related to with her. And I just love how she was kind of able to get through that and find herself and find happiness with kind of being alone. So I love that. And then I loved her kind of enemies to lovers relationship with the 2 of them. It was super cute. Yeah, overall loved it. And then I did my Fourth Wing and Iron Flame reread. So these are both a yes, even for rereads. This was my 3rd time reading Fourth Wing, 2nd time reading Iron Flame, but still they are so freaking good. I was still giggling and kicking my feet for both of them, so they're always a yes. Obsessed. And those were obviously in preparation for reading Onyx Storm. God, I love this book. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Xaden kind of drove me crazy throughout the whole book. He was really pissing me off. I'm not gonna do any spoilers, but I just really love this world. I love Violet and Xaden, even when Xaden's being super annoying. I love like mostly all of the characters. Taryn and Andarna, love them. I love the dragons. I thought it was a great continuation. A lot happened. We got to learn a lot more about what was kind of going on with like Andarna and Violet, and there was definitely a lot more information and a lot more new characters, which was kind of a bit much for me. I definitely need to reread this because I couldn't tell you who half of the new people are. But I thought it was a really fun read. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was so nervous for how it would end out. And the ending was kind of a lot like Iron Flame, which just kind of sucked just because it ends on such a big cliffhanger again. And there's no news for the next book. There's not even a date set. So that sucks, but I will forever love these books, so this one's a hell yes. And then I listened to Not in My Book by Katie Holt. This was a really cute read, or listen, I guess. I listened to the audiobook. It was a fun audiobook. It was about like two writers that are in, I think, grad school, and they're taking a class together, and they're definitely enemies, and they start bickering in class, and the teacher assigns them to write a book together to try to bridge that relationship and stop them from being obnoxious and fighting in class. So it was really fun because you got little excerpts of the book that they're writing, so I really love that. Otherwise, it was just kind of a cutesy romance book. I did rate that one 4 stars, and I'd give it a maybe for recommendation. And then I read A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. I love this book. I think I would rate this one like 4.5 stars. It was giving me like Throne of Glass and From Blood and Ash vibes, which I love both of those books so much. So this book was really fun. It has fae and elves, so that world was really fun to learn about. And I loved the FMC Kira. She's definitely a morally gray FMC, which I love. She's going through some shit. She deals with self-harm. I thought it was really beautiful the way that the character kind of dealt with that. And yeah, the story was just really fun. It had lots going on. It was definitely action-packed, and I can't wait to see where the series goes. I think there's 4 books in the series, so I'm definitely gonna pick up the next ones as soon as I can and continue this. This was the first book for my book club that I have through Fable. It's called the Wandering Book Club. So it was really fun getting to read this. I'm so happy that it was a good read. So I'm gonna say yes for this one. I loved it. Definitely recommend it. And then my next read was Training the Heart by Paisley Hope. I love Paisley Hope. I loved this book. This one's a hell yes. I love a good cowboy romance, and Paisley Hope writes the spiciest cowboy romances, in my opinion. The first book of this kind of world is Holding the Reins, which I absolutely adored. I will say I do think I liked Holding the Reins a little bit more than this book, but they're still really good, and this one almost lived up to the hype of that one, which I love. I love this story. I ate it up. It was hilarious. It has like a one bed moment in there. Just the dedication for this book. Like, yeah. So this one's a hell yes. I freaking love Paisley Hope. Book 3 for this comes out, I think, in May, and I'm already frothing at the mouth. I cannot wait. I think there's gonna be 5 books so far in this world, and I'm so excited for all of them. I can't wait. They're so good. Please go read this. Please. They're so good. So those are the 14 books that I read in January. Overall, it was an amazing month. I had lots of great reads, and I would love to know what you guys read in January, and if you've read any of these books, if you love them, if you hate them, let me know. Love you guys. Bye.